Good day, class. I thought we will talk a little bit about the next particular rhetorical mode that you will be writing your next essay on. It is the cause and effect essay, which, if you could tell on this screen, a cause and effect essay is a type of essay that explains how one event or situation leads to another. This can be an interesting type of essay to write because it allows you to explore the different impacts that one event can have. Now, if you look, there's a couple ways to approach this particular essay as it relates to setting it up. You have the block structure, which we will talk about here momentarily. You have a chain structure, which we will also talk about momentarily. Then you have a cause focus only structure and an effects focus only structure. Now, really, the structure really depends on you, what you're comfortable with, what you want to do, and your particular topic that you chose for your cause and effects essay. So if you look, if we go through these different structures, the block structure is usually the general method you would see with most of these. Most students write using the block structure cause and effect essay. You will have your introduction, which you will have a hook, you have a background, some background information that leads into your final sentence of your introduction, which should be your thesis statement. Basically, what the main idea of your entire cause and effect essay is going to be about. Sort of the blueprint of the essay. And then after that, you will have a series of body paragraphs. Now, again, because we're looking at this particular essay at this point in the semester, you're going to have to write probably a little bit longer of a paper. The word count is going to increase. If you look at your paper topics, you realize that the page length has increased and the word count is going to increase as well. That's naturally the progression as we move from one essay to the next. All that stuff is going to increase a little bit. So if you look here, each one of these where it says 1, 2, and 3 represents a body paragraph that you would have to flesh out and develop a little bit more. So cause 1 would be a paragraph, cause 2 would be a paragraph, cause 3 would be a paragraph, and if you need additional causes, paragraph 4, 5, 6, that's why you have the in here. And then you would have a transition where you would shift over and talk about effects 1, effect 2, effect 3, and again, if you need to go to effect 4, 5, and 6, you would do it as well. Now, the general rule with cause and effect is if you do it in the block structure or in the chain structure, which we're going to look at here momentarily, if you have 4 causes to be unified in your paper, you need to have 4 effects. You can't just have, 7 causes and 4 effects. It's not going to give a good balance. So what I would probably suggest, if you just do the basic 3 cause, 3 effects, you add your introduction and of course your conclusion, well, you're going to have a total of 6 body paragraphs. An introduction is paragraph 7, and then your conclusion would be paragraph 8. So you're definitely with a block structure looking at least 8 paragraphs or more. Anything less than 8 paragraphs is not really following the instructions of the paper length or the word count. So you're going to have to start thinking about writing longer papers, having longer, more words in these essays at this point, as we build to some of the bigger writing projects still to come in the semester. So, and of course, again, you'd have your conclusion. The chain structure is basically, again, you're going to have your introduction, you're going to have your hook, you're going to have some background information that's going to lead to your last sentence of that particular introduction paragraph, which is going to be your thesis. And now you're going to have where you go from one cause to one effect, one cause to one effect. So as you can tell in this particular structure here, you have cause 1, and then you have a paragraph effect 1. Paragraph cause 2, another paragraph effect 2. Cause 3, effect 3. Cause 4, 5, and 6, whatever that may be, effect 4, 5, and 6. So as you can tell here, the general rule, I mean, each one of these, the cause would be a paragraph, the effect would be a paragraph. So you're looking at there's 2, 4, 6. Again, at this point, if you follow the chain, you still have, when you add the introduction and conclusion, at least 8 or more paragraphs. Some folks like using either the block or the chain because it sort of guarantees you your paper length and your word count. Now, if you don't want to do the back and forth or focus, on both the cause and effects of your particular topic, you can do what it's called a cause focus only. Now, the issue with this is you're probably going to have to find more causes to get the same amount of, paragraphs that will help you get your paper length or your word count. So again, just like most essays, you're going to have an introduction with a thesis. We'll conclude it with a conclusion paragraph. But if you look here, I'm just focusing on causes. So I have to have more causes to be able to get the same amount of paragraphs, granted 8 or plus paragraphs to be able to get my paper length and word count. So here I have cause 1, cause 2, cause 3, cause 4, cause 5, cause 6. Again, that's 6 paragraphs, introduction 7, conclusion 8. Now, again, if you have to go additional, causes 7, 8, and 9, you're more than welcome to do that. The problem is you don't want to have this paper take a life on its own where it's getting to be more of a challenge to try to wrap it up because you got so many causes or so many effects. Again, the general rule, I would probably start, if you're going to do, the block or the chain structure, I would start at least with 3 causes, 3 effects. If you're just focusing on the cause only, I would probably get at least 6 causes. The same thing is if you look at the next particular structure, the effects focus only structure, again, introduction, thesis, conclusion, you need to have at least 6 effects if you're focusing on that. It's up to you which structure you want to use. You may want to brainstorm a little bit for this week and see, depending on your topic, when you look at those lists, there's a little bit more this time than there were in the previous paper assignments, giving you a little bit of variety. Keep in mind, you may have to do a little bit of research depending on what your topic is. You're not really required to do research because we're not looking at this as a research paper. That's coming up in another month or so. But if you do use secondary sources or use information, say off a website or a book or journal article that's not coming from your own head, meaning you're quoting, paraphrasing, or summarizing something for somebody, you need to properly cite it via MLA. And if you're having issues with that, you need to kind of let me know what you're trying to cite or quote or paraphrase so you don't get caught up in the flagging of plagiarism. Because again, you get caught plagiarism, whether you did it, intentionally or unintentionally, and still didn't get your help, then this essay is going to give you, you're going to get a 0 in this essay, which will damage your grade because this particular essay is worth a little bit more than the previous essays that you've already written for the course. So keep that in mind. Each time we have a new essay, the percentage or the weight of that essay increases, just like the paper length and just like the word count. So if we look at a particular example I sort of just made up as a topic, let's say that I'm focusing on the topic of DUI. This could be one particular thesis I could use. This would be the very last sentence of my introduction paragraph because it basically lays out a blueprint of the causes and the effects that I'm going to be, discussing. So it says, although communities are trying to eradicate drunk driving, more funding should be allocated toward educating teens about driving under any drug influence. So I'm focused, the big topic is DUI, but then I'm narrowing it down to teens and driving under the influence. Now, again, the DUI could be anything from, alcohol to, various substances, pills, pain pills, that type stuff. But if you look, I have 5 causes and I have 5 effects. So if I wanted to do the block structure, then I basically, my outline right here, besides having an introduction that leads into this thesis statement, here are my 5 paragraphs for the causes. I then will have a transitional phrase or a paragraph, probably at the end of my 5th paragraph here, that segues into my 5 causes for effects. So again, here's my 5 effects. These would be 5 separate paragraphs that I would develop. This is just basically sort of a topic outline, topic sentences for those paragraphs. So the result would be, if I did a chain structure or a block structure, once I have the introduction and the conclusion, I will have a 12 paragraph essay. This would probably be this would be a well-written essay that would give me the paper length and probably the word count. Probably have a little bit more. If I wanted to just focus on the causes, I would probably need to find at least one more cause, but then I have an outline here, right? I just have a 6 cause, which would give me the 6 paragraph. I will have, the introduction, I have my thesis, and then I'd have a conclusion. If I wanted to just focus on the effects, again, I'd probably have to add one more effect, which would be number 6. I would have then, the introduction, my thesis again, and then I would have my 6 paragraphs with a conclusion. So basically from this outline here, now if I did just the causes or just the effects, I would probably have to maybe tweak my thesis up to sort of indicate which one I'm really focusing on. But for my purpose here, I chose this because I showed you how I could use, either one of those structures. I can modify with my particular topic here and come up with a cause and effect essay that would work for me. Now, again, depending on your structure, however you want to develop or set it up, that's going to be up to you. I would probably do a little bit of an experiment with the structures maybe this week. And you can do so by doing a little bit of brainstorming to see which structure would work well. Just like the previous essays, you can always send me in Smart Thinking drafts when you get to the point where you're able to do so. And have, explore with this. This should be a little bit, we're getting more into academic. Not to say that the first 2 essays that we did were not academic. They were. You still had academic, as it relates to format, grammar, and that type stuff. But we're really getting into the heart of the course now, where things are going to start focusing more on objective point of view and less on a subjective point of view. In a lot of ways, we're doing that to segue into the bigger project of the course, which would be the research paper. And again, that's going to be, we're going to start talking a little bit about that after midterm. So everything has a reason why we are doing what we're doing. You should, I hope, start seeing that reason soon, because again, increasing the paper length, increasing the word count, there's a reason why I'm doing that. Because when we get to the actual research aspect of the course and you have to write a longer paper than what you're used to, you'll be able to do so because all along you've been increasing by a page and increasing by 250 words or whatever the case may be. So see what you can kind of come up with those topics on that assignment sheet that I provide in the weekly folder. Go ahead and, once you've wrapped up the work that you need to do for this particular week, go ahead and start brainstorming. Go ahead and start, cranking out a rough draft. Uh, Play around or experiment with some of these different cause and effect structures, because one of these four structures would probably be your best friend. I mean, you're going to have to use one of these four. You can't just go at this haphazardly and thinking that it's going to come out really good, because if you don't use one of these structures, then I can pretty much tell you you're probably going to be short on the word count. You're going to be short on the actual paper length, and your coherent and development and organization of the paper is just going to be all over the place. So if you're not using outlines for the previous essays, I would suggest that you start using outlines from here on out. It will make the whole drafting process come a little easier for you, I hope. You will have, a little bit of a focus, what you need to focus on in each paragraph. You won't be here, there, and everywhere. You wouldn't be, going off into various tangents that don't really relate to your topic at all. And sometimes I see that starting with the second essay that we are wrapping up, with the description paper, I see folks, sometimes they want to go on into, really odd and weird tangents. It's somewhat like they're trying to add another narrative to whatever they're trying to describe. And it's like, well, we just covered narrative before description. So I don't know why you're trying to give me a. So you want to be careful. That's why I say, if you haven't used an outline for the first few papers, I would start using an outline for at least, for this essay, but for the essays that are left to come, because the outline is going to be sort of like your tag team partner in a way that it's going to help guide you and keep you focused on what you need to do and to be successful on that particular writing project. As always, you can send drafts. You can send as many drafts to me, Smart Thinking, before the deadline. So double check to make sure when the final draft of the cause and effect essay is due. So you're not, getting caught up, having a rush, or forgetting to submit it on time. You do have a little bit of time to do this. But it's one of those things too, that being that, this video is really made for an online course. You don't want to get in a situation where you're getting bogged down because of your other classes and other obligations, and you sort of rush through this. Because as I said from week one, good writing takes time. It's something that you have to nurture. It's something that you have to, work at a little bit each day. It's not something you can kind of just bang out in a couple hours and thinking that it's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, because I can tell you rough drafts are what they are. They're rough drafts. They're not, A+ drafts. They're not B+ drafts usually. Rough drafts are usually in the range of C- or lower. And for most people, they're the D and the F drafts, which that's good because you're having time to work through your ideas, to correct any, organization or development issues that you're having, to look at some of the grammar issues and spelling issues that you need to fix. So that's sort of the beauty of the rough draft. Yes, for some folks, they are time consuming. The whole deal of sending multiple drafts to me in Smart Thinking can be a little bit time consuming, but that's how you grow. That's how you become better as a writer. The more sets of eyes and the more drafts you're able to produce and set out before you turn in the final draft, the better the grade should be. And over time, the better writer you should be. Because I can pretty much say that this is probably not going to be your only course that you're going to have to write essays before you graduate. You're probably going to have to write another research paper in another course. You may have to write, a couple more essays in another course. So all this stuff will be beneficial as you move on in your academic career. The old saying, if you don't learn it now, it could come back and haunt you, is true. Especially if you're going to transfer to another college, you plan on going for a 4-year degree or higher. At some point, the tests and quizzes just go away, and how they gauge your ability to critically think, write, and read, and where you're going to get a big chunk or a big bulk of your grade for those particular classes will be in how well you write. And if you can't write well, if you can't argue well, if you can't present a good cause and effect or compare and contrast or argumentative or persuasive paper, then your grade's going to suffer every time. So just sort of keep that in the back of your head as we move forward, because the next series of essays will be a challenge if you don't take them sort of seriously and go through the motions of, brainstorming a little bit more, creating outlines, seeking the help of the instructor, seeking help of Smart Thinking. We offer free help. Everybody should be, taking advantage of the free help if they need it. We can't, I don't read minds. So if you're having issues, you need to sort of speak up, because we're getting close to the midterm of the semester. And after midterm, things are going to start rolling fast. And before you know it, you're going to go to sleep, the day of the midterm, and wake up and it's already time for final exams. So things are going to start moving fast in the coming weeks. And it's something that you're going to have to be cognizant of, so you don't get far behind. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Let me know if I can help you. Remember, I do have in-person tutoring hours. If you want to come to some in-person tutoring, just let me know that you're coming and we can set something up. Usually, my hours for this particular semester are 10 to 11 down in the Camden County Library. But we can also do something via Microsoft Teams or Blackboard Collaborate as well, if that would be a better suit for you. All right, so that is pretty much the next particular rhetorical mode of writing that we're tackling this time is the cause and effect essay. So please look at those topic selections. Take this week to go ahead and choose a topic and start your outline and start your brainstorming. So in the next few weeks, you can start doing the rough draft and then transitioning that rough draft into a really good final product that you will be proud of and get hopefully the best possible grade that you're trying to achieve. Until we meet again, have a great day, have a great week, and email me if you need to.